Hello and welcome to the Stream of Chaos. My name is Dave and I'll be your keeper of arcane lore for this session, Call of Cthulhu. Today we are continuing our playthrough through The Order of the Stone. You can get your own copy over at chaosium.com, and this is must be like the 7th episode in this actual play, and all of those videos are collected over on the Chaosium YouTube channel, along with our previous and future games. If you are watching there, we do stream live each Friday on Twitch, and we use tools such as Roll20, which I want to give a thank you to, which we'll use throughout this series. We are down one Gaspar Green, played by Jackson this week, but the story can, will, and must go on, so we return to our investigators. Luce and Bernie Green, along with Joe Evans, have sailed out from Greenport Harbour, searching for somewhere that a damaged ship might be able to find harbour. Paul Garrett has remained in town and poured himself out over many records looking for further signs, and together they're both sort of independently found signs pointing towards a northern private house that would be able to keep a boat of size enough to get out into the Boston Bay, and may have been able to repair it. Where we left the last session, Luce and Bernie came into that cove and saw a strange presence shifting within the water. It was just enough to shake their sanity. And where we return, and as I'll ask everyone to reintroduce their investigators, we'll do it with the context of how do you react to seeing a reminder of that horrible journey, that horrible day you had about a month ago on the SS Champagne. We will begin with Art.
I'm so used to having my microphone muted that I clicked the button. I was not muted, yeah. So I just muted myself and then was like, shit. Hi, I'm Art. I'm having a morning. And I am playing Luce McAllister, ship's mechanic, who's apparently having an evening. So, you know, come full circle. I don't think Luce had an actual, a proper reaction to the monster, because I don't know that Luce ever actually saw it.
Yeah, okay.
I think Luce and the captain got away with, we kind of saw it at a distance, but we didn't
Glimpses,
ever actually,
maybe.
We didn't have to do the full, perceive the horror in front of you and gird your mind from madness, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's an uneasy feeling. It's a where's my axe kind of feeling, but it's not it's all overish rather than terror.
Yeah, just a general sense of unease. I mean, you haven't seen anything direct so much as a shifting underneath the waves where this boat has begun to sink down and list against the pier. Something otherworldly is in the water. We're going to nip away very briefly back to Greyport and meet Paul, played by James.
That's me. I'm having a lovely time in the library. It's great. The Hall of Records, rather. Going through, chatting with the librarian. It's a fantastic time. I have kind of let my friend wander off into the woods, but it's going to be okay. I'm in my leather jacket era. I've got other priorities.
He's looking cool, feeling
Exactly.
good. He will regret the decisions he has made.
But from my perspective, I've found the location that we need. It all worked. So I've narrowed down to one of two names. It's very good.
That's right. Yeah. I think actually a failure looking back at the thing, but some logic and success got you in the right direction.
It was failure got me 3 names, but then the added question was, is one of them in the direction that we have since independently by looking at sort of tracks and guesses and established directions that this person must have headed based on the crime scene, can we rule out any of them? So we ruled out one based on other clues, basically.
That's it, you got a bit to narrow in on. Yeah, that's right. All right, and that is Paul. We'll go across to Alex playing Bernie.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm playing Bernie Green, captain of the Foggy Seas, captain of getting the heck out of here.
We're going about.
Actually, We went on a little pleasure cruise down the coast just to see what we could see, if there was anywhere that looked like it might be a landing spot or a good spot for people to approach the town on foot. It's much quicker to do this by boat. This is, we're efficient people. Instead, we found an unknowable horror, and instead of attempting to know the horror, we are going to book it.
There is no need to know the horror.
We don't
The
need to know
horror's
this horror.
existence is enough.
Horror
This horror
is
look, it's got a
unknown
right to
and may
privacy.
stay unknown.
It's got its right to privacy. I'm going to respect that and leave.
Okay.
Whatever it's doing there, I'm going to give it some space.
Yeah, come on, we got to make sure we're GDPR compliant.
Exactly. I don't want to.
So-
I don't want to be invading this horror's privacy, so we're just gonna.
We're gonna stay with Luce and Bernie for a minute then. So as the foggy sea comes into this small cove, Joe has joined you up above deck, and I described the blinking lights on the ship's bow beginning to fade to monochromatic color, for Bernie at least, as the red and green shifts to white and grey. The pier before it has the boat only barely held up by the prow. The rest of it is sunk underneath the water, and I described a couple of small buildings. It's like an outhouse or a shed near the jetty, and then there's a sort of modest, what would be like a small family home to the rear. No sign of an automobile. The presence of an otherworldly and unknowable terror is still very much a presence at this point. You can see a faint shimmer that might be described as oil sheen along the top of the water by the boat, where your own lights reflect off it strangely. And there's a curling dread that twists inside your stomach as you gaze across it, and in these sort of jagged flashes of torn and relocated memory, you find yourselves back on the SS Champagne for half a second, claustrophobic, trapped underneath, tons of twisting metal and screaming steam, until you're back on the foggy sea. A vessel which you control. Now, this is a small bay, but there is room enough to go about, and with a capable crew, you can quickly give the order to turn. You can also see from here that there is a dirt road that leads north that would reconnect to a larger highway or something, and the area can be reached through automobile. Last thing I'll mention, just because you're here, to the, it would be east, north, south, there are woods. It looks as though through those woods, with enough travel, you would arrive in Greyport. Now, each of you did fail your sanity rolls, but it was only a tick, because it's more the presence of a creature rather than actually seeing anything itself. There is brief reactions, sort of gasps and shock, but you're practiced sailors, and with the command given, you can begin to take control of the vessel. What would you like to do? Is there anything further before Bernie, you shift?
Absolutely not. My being shunted back into the headspace of being on the SS Champagne can do exactly what I was trying to do on the SS Champagne, which is get the heck out of here.
That's it. And this
That
time
is my laser focus. Gotta go. We gotta go. I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, there's no way. I'm like, if the captain were to decide to stay, my respectful suggestion would be,
No.
I don't want to fix extra holes in the ship than like I usually have to. Please, let's just go. So yeah, as soon as captain gives the order, Lucius, no interest in making their own lives harder than necessary, and we'll just
Gotta
get
go.
the engines kicked in and making sure everything's running.
This is clearly a private party. We're not invited. We're just gonna leave. I'm just gonna leave.
It's interesting that in the presence of this horror and in the act of giving and enacting these orders, you return to your places of comfort and control. Bernie takes the helm and swings it around, and the unwieldy but ever capable foggy sea begins to swing around just before it approaches the jetty. Luce slides below deck, leaping the stairs and heading for the engine room, where with a few deft swings of a hammer, the engine roars into life. Wrench.
It'll be a wrench.
hammer is
Don't be
dismissed.
so. Look, when you have a hammer, everything's a nail. When you have a wrench, everything's a bolt, and that's far more interesting because bolts do a twizzly thing, and nails they just go in and out, and that's boring.
Totally different game. Yeah. The ship begins to swing around, and you sort of draw in the scent of engine and comfort, and you head back out towards the what is it? Ocean, sea, whatever the water is beyond. Joe is going to remain up and keep scanning the area as you leave, but soon it begins to fade, especially as you come around the rocky outcropping, and you can see it no further.
I believe the technical term, Dave, is the large wet bit of, over yonder.
That's it's legal name. Heading
Full of
out.
fishies.
Yeah. Heading out, you make your way back towards the Greyport Harbour. And we'll check quickly with Jim. As once night has fallen, what do? You are sitting with Alice, who's helping to work through the documents you've procured. But at a point, she'll, not realizing how late it's gotten, stretch and say, God, well, would you look at the time? I think we'd better close up soon. You only, coming back to your senses, notice that the sort of records office is quiet, and outside those doors, the lights are off and no one is moving. The time's gotten quite away from you.
Yeah, I make pleasantries. Walk to the help shut up. Walk to the end of the street where we part ways, and after a quick goodbye, kind of stroll a bit, then sort of slowly more stuff starts coming back to me, and I'm like, I have let myself get very distracted here. I need to get back. The others will be arriving. I need to get back to the boat. There was that person lurking, and where is... Okay, all right, back to the dock for now.
Heading back to the harbour. Last you saw of Gaspar was he said he was going to go and have a look in the woods, see if he could find any signs of the tracks that Marco may have left coming or going by that way. It would stand to reason that he would come back to either the harbour to meet with the boat when it arrives, or probably the bed and breakfast if he didn't return to the records office. So either of those should work. You make your way towards the harbour, and it's a lot quieter now, come darkness. There's a few people moving around. It's not completely abandoned, but it's definitely quiet. And you find yourself the only body sitting out on the jetty that punches into the bay itself. Water laps quietly at your feet, and you can smell the scent of the sea. In the distance, you can just make out the familiar lights of the foggy sea coming towards you.
Just for expediency's sake, then, can I have just checked to make sure that he is not at the bed and breakfast, just so we don't have to then run in and check, or is this potentially see even a window?
Yeah, actually, you are right. If you get here, a quick scan of the harbour will show Gaspar is not here, and now feeling just the tiniest little twinge of panic, as first mate, he's kind of under your command at the moment. You turn, and a quick walk turns into a slow jog, turns into a jog, as you round the corner and arrive back at the Greyport Bed and Breakfast. The lights are on inside. It's not so late that Gail Armand has shuttered things yet, and the door opens unlocked. Inside, she greets you, says she has not seen Gaspar, but before you go, a young gentleman came in and left a message for you. It's here. And
okay, thank you.
Hands across a slip of paper, which I will share with you. A very simple note.
Okay.
Best scene.
Okay.
I'm gonna read it aloud for the class.
Meet in the cannery, back entrance, 10 p.m. tonight.
It had been folded and sort of bunched up in a way that it shows that Gail herself has not read it. She knows everyone that comes and goes through here. This was delivered by young Jeff Northman, who you know to be a member of the Seas Gifts.
Right.
Tells you that it was dropped over. You probably only just missed him, maybe 20 minutes ago.
20 minutes ago, as I'm like stopping in the middle of the intersection where you're chatting with Alice. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll be back a little later. I'm so sorry. We will try not to wake you.
Well, it's no mind. I'm a light sleeper. I'll get up anyway.
You really are an endurance sort, thank you. And they kind of just like rush out the door.
Head out the door, it knocked behind you, and you race out towards the harbour, just in time to see Joe Evans leaping onto the pier and beginning to tie off one of the ropes. The four of you, reconvene in the harbour. It's just gone like 7:30. Or actually, no, be like even 7 or so. It's really not too late. The sun has set, and it's post dinner, but it's not, super late or anything.
I will head over to the captain, just to sort of make a report. Would I get from the look on your faces that you've spotted something, that you've seen something?
If you can tell the difference between loose in a relatively relaxed state and the like squareness of jaw that goes with loose, slightly gritting teeth and holding a bunch of tension, yeah, something happened.
I think it would be more that if nothing had happened, it probably would have taken longer for us to get back. We probably would have explored more. We're back real quick, real fast.
Walking up, then I've got stuff in my hand. Clear, I'm about to sort of present. But you find anything?
Yeah. Found just come aboard for a sec. Just 8 ears.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. You clamber aboard, and Joe posts up on the surface of the ship, keeping watch while the three of you head below deck. Yeah, sure.
The deck of the...
You want to be technical about it? Sure.
It's on the big wet thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
And the three of you go below deck to sit conveniently in Gaspar's quarters, or just nearby, and have a quiet word.
Right, so yes, we did find something. We found a harbour with a little house, and could definitely be accessing Greyport from the woods or from the road. More importantly, there was a little boat on its way to the bottom of the ocean and at the dock, and something else at the dock, and something else was at the dock with it.
Something else, like...
There was something
else
big under the water.
You made it back without any damage to the foggy sea?
Of course.
Oh, well done, I guess. I
Mr.
found...
Garrett.
Yeah,
What kind of a question is that?
It didn't strike, I guess, but anyway, the point is I've narrowed down some houses. We can probably use your information now to lock down the only vessels that could have been involved in this. I got a note inviting us to a meeting at the cannery this evening, delivered to the boarding house. He's late. I don't know. He should have. Because I kind of like.
Oh, where's my grandson?
He went to look at the crime scene, and he's late back. I've been at the Hall of Records working, and he's not back yet.
When you say crime scene, because we went to the field and he had a good poke around, you mean he's back in the field?
I think he went a bit further into the woods, but he left during the day. It was bright enough. I figured it wasn't dangerous. I didn't think to go with him for a walk in the woods.
Okay.
Right? Well, what's done is done. How do you feel about a walk in the woods?
Well, I guess we better search for him now. 3 hours
positive.
before the 3 hours before the meeting, if we want to go to that.
I want to find my grandson.
Right,
well, then...
Captain? It's, maybe not going to make us a lot of friends, but shall I bring the axe?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We just
I think we might be at the tail end of the making friends thing anyway.
Yeah, start tracking, I guess. Just head through. Well, you can't have gone too far, so let's just start looking. And you said it was accessible via the road, the place that you saw.
Road, possibly also the woods.
Okay, well, start in that direction. So I have one last suggestion, but I think it takes a while to cogitate as we're sort of getting ready to leave. And just before we sort of head out, I'll say there's no way that these two things are connected, right? There's no way that, he stumbled across a smuggling operation, they pulled him into the canning factory and want to talk to us about it, right?
In our experience recently, everything's connected.
I'm not
I'd love for it not to be connected. I would absolutely adore that.
Okay, well, we might.
You think that the fella that was murdered, like, found out about the smuggling and that's why he was murdered, rather than, he was stabbed by a bunch of cultists? Or do you think the smugglers are the cult? Sorry, Mr. Again.
No, I mean,
follow.
Do we think that Gaspar isn't wandering the woods? He's a guest of a smuggling operation right now.
Essentially a ransom note.
Sitting in the back of an office room waiting for us to arrive.
It may be.
Right. Sorry, it's been a long day. Well, if it is, we'll make a nice little suggestion that they return him.
There's a chance that we just find him and put this to bed. So let's start with that. We head over to the woods and we'll go from there.
Maybe I'll bring my axe to the meeting as well, just in case.
Probably a good idea.
Wrench and axe on hand. Thank you, Dave.
Okay. An axe is a pretty conspicuous item.
Got a big oil coat, oil canvas coat for stormy days on the ship.
I do have like my tool bag, which usually contains, or like I'd have like a duffel which I could empty out and put the axe in as a solo thing. So my tools are left like on the ship secured, which I would have a space for them to be secure on the ship, and then I have a way of transporting them when I need them around.
We also, if we're going along woods and potentially along the road as well, we have my bike. It's the bad drawing we did of it has been sitting next to the harbor on our version of the map for a while. The axe could potentially get stowed there. As you mentioned,
you do each have bags that stow like your clothes and things. You can empty out enough stuff to fit the axe inside it and then sling it over your shoulder. It's a very common sight to see a sailor with one of these coming and going. It'd just be assumed you're going to the bed and breakfast. Only thing I'll flag is the axe is with you but away. It'll probably take a round to get it out and, hoistable.
The main thing is making sure that it is concealed while we are getting to a place out of sight. As soon as we're out of eyeline, and frankly, even if we're still kind of in eyeline, if we're like walking into the woods, someone going into the woods with an axe?
It's a very normal thing.
It's weird.
This is a town that has recently had what they believe to be a drifter come through and murder someone. If they see strangers carrying around axes, the police are being wrong. Even you guys just walking around late at night and going into the woods and looking in canneries and things is probably going to elicit suspicion. So just, caution's the word.
Yeah, that's easy. I'm happy. That makes sense that if it's away, it's away. But I would like.
But you've got it with you. That's fine. Yeah. Cool. It'll be easier to get out. Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to carry? You've each got heavy leather jackets that we've said that'd be a point of armor. That's sort of like your thick rain gear. It's not raining, but again, not crazy to be wearing it. So you can gather those if you wish. And I'll assume Joe's going to be left to keep watch over the night. His intention was to stay up now and see if anyone comes around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just my usual stuff that I have on me, which is I have a tool belt with a safety strap, which is very funny to me. But yes, tool belt.
Safety
have my
first.
wrench. Got torches. I think probably the torch would also, for convenience sake, be in the bag. And we'll get it out when we need it, so that it's not obvious that we're wandering around with bright torches, because that's also weird. I will have essentially my list of possessions with the exception of the tools in the tool bag on me in that bag.
Perfect.
Could I grab some, show how little I know about boats, some paint or some like patching tar or some kind of sticky substance that could be used to, if we find ourselves needing to draw runes, not need to bloody ourselves. Like just a paints to be able to properly, consistently get those out.
Certainly, Lucid would have something like that to hand. You can have a tin of paint or similar, and a brush to match it.
Perfect.
Okay. You all head onto the harbour and make your way into town, bound for the little field behind the general store and the woods beyond it. As you go, you will remark that the harbour is particularly quiet, and now that you put it to mind, the Sea's Gifts is not present. That's the only other sort of larger ship in this area. Not sure exactly where it came or went. It was there when you departed. It's no longer here. Okay. Heading towards the field, there's that little path that winds between the houses towards it. You'll note that the courthouse is completely dark, no lights shining, but the general store's back rooms are still lit. He's possibly doing stock take or something. As you slide down and into the field beyond, you can see a couple of windows shining out, and occasionally a large silhouette moves in the rear, probably just moving boxes about. The murder site itself is dark, although there is some moonlight that filters between the clouds. It'll take you a while to pick up the tracks that Gaspar found, but possibly don't need them. You can just head straight for the dark, imposing woods that lurk behind them.
Right. Cool. Good.
Right.
Yeah. I'll have a torch with me, of course, but I'll cover it with, put it under a bit of cloth that I've got wrapped around the front, so it's a diffused dim light.
Again, just as we're walking through here, how exposed do we feel from all of the windows shining in? Because it just one of those, we get to a murder site where no one saw anything, and if we feel like really watched by like 8 different windows, that sort of says something in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely have several things have eye line on it. Light interior is actually easier to see inside theirs. So in the distance, you can see the Greyport Bread and Breakfast. You can just make out the top level. It'd be like the attic or something. The lights are off and you can only sort of like just see it from here. The general store looks straight into it, and the backyard, which is fenced off, holds more supplies. Once again, the light on there, you can clearly see to and from it. The rest of the buildings and things have like fences and gates looking towards them, but there's a lot of shrubberies and things. There's actually a lot that would break up the line of sight. The last building of note being the library does have the clearest view of it from the second level. It's the only 2-story building. The general store has an attic. So it's the only one with a full second level, and those ones look straight down towards it.
But it wouldn't be occupied at night.
No, it's completely dark. No one's inside.
Although the librarian was the person who found the body, and we still haven't spoken to her.
That's right. But if she'd come in early in the morning, maybe while doing checks or something, she would have just happened to see it. This was also, sort of early. It would have been in the dark, presumably. All right. You can head towards the woods. These are sort of fairly sparsely planted trees that head off into the distance. The first sort of section of it is clearly fairly well trodden. There's a lot of cigarette butts and stuff. Like, it's not super well cared for. People go here for like lunch and things. Actually, it's painting it in daylight. They look after it, but there's signs of things they missed while doing cleanup and stuff. Like, there is just signs of people come here to have their lunch or hang out, and then they head out and they just miss a couple of things. You can see a few tracks immediately evident, but trying to identify Gaspar's or anyone else's would require a roll or something. Jim?
Can we spot any of, because you mentioned that there's storms here that kind of disturb the land and make it pretty difficult to, stuff changes. Can we see any of the cigarette butts that we have identified as a specific brand that we're looking for that have, no?
The packet is identifiable. It's a very yellow color. It's yellow. The cigarettes themselves, probably not. I think it was Bernie or Luce smelt them, and they just seem to be like tobacco. There's no like strange cloves or anything. You'd be very hard pressed to identify one from the butt alone.
Are there any, like, you said there are tracks in the woods. If people come here to eat their lunch, or potentially, like, move through it, are there any sort of small, worn areas that look like they get used as small pathways more often than different areas? Like, can we sort of see... What did we discover? The desire paths or whatever we said that they probably were? Something... like that, even leading a small way in if there are like regular people going in and out to, as you say, have lunch, have a smoke, whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah. There's little ones just on the sort of surface of the woods. Pretty quickly it gets to like where there's brambles and things and people would have to break through, and by that point people are pushing inwards to get further. There's no just clear sort of wandering lines that would take you all the way in. At the moment there seems to be no sign of life.
I feel like I start trying to track where Gaspar, and I'm not good at tracking, but I start like bending down, looking at the cigarette butts that we've just established won't help, like touching brambles to see if I can see like a big bush bashed area.
Yeah, I just want to see if there's any kind of natural path at this point.
Okay.
I want to check if there's broken branches and obvious things like
where someone pushed further in. Yeah, okay. So this will be a track roll. Any number of you can attempt it. If you would like to try and pull resources and confer a bonus dice to another, that's also fine. I'll note that by the time you get back to here, it's getting towards 8:15. This will get you towards the sort of 9 o'clock and beyond territory, as you spend a little while sort of really searching through and trying to find the signs of passage.
Yeah.
Can I don't have track.
I've got navigate natural world.
Oh yeah, I do have natural world. That is a thing I've got. So whether like, because I'm not necessarily trying to find where someone went as much as like any specific person. I'm just like, what's broken? What looks like it's been passed through reasonably. I was just gonna say if I don't have base track, but I was gonna argue for like, can I lend assistance using a different skill to someone? Yeah. If you'll allow a natural world check, I will take one of those, but I'm also happy to just go, yeah, whoever's got track, you can have that as an addition.
The natural world and navigate definitely can be used for a bonus dice. If you want to roll those, there is information that follows, but it isn't tracking. It's not saying who went where. It would be, for example, navigate would be going, okay, we know we're here. We know that house is that way. What's the information I can get between that connection? Natural world would be based on these woods, what animals might there be here? Does that tell me anything else? It'll get you different information that's not necessarily did Gaspar go this way. That will probably fall under track.
Yeah, I think I'm interested in like with the broken branches stuff, it's not did Gaspar go this way, it's how many
is there a path? Is there an obvious path that people would have?
There isn't an obvious path that people come and go by. That would probably still kind of be under the track.
Do you have track, Jim?
I do not, but I start I was going to drive 20 in it, so you know.
Does everyone want to work with a bonus dice for?
Yeah, tracks. If you've got 20, that's
sorry, I just got mixed up. I did do a wide spread for this character. I get mixed up what's a base 20 and what's a base 10. I'm ready. I start tracking.
Yeah, and I'll give you a bonus dice.
Okay.
Would you mind if I made a natural world, Dave, just to get a lay of the land?
Absolutely, yeah. There's information under it, certainly. It's just to be slightly different. Okay, so Paul, if you want to do a track roll with Bernie's assistance, Bernie, knowing her grandson, can kind of advise where he may have gone or what he may have done, and Paul, you can look for the signs yourself. While Luce, you take in a more general sense of the woods here and the environs that surround it.
Oh, there is one other thing that I think, like, natural world adjacent, that I have a question about, which is we saw a weird shape under the water, and we were, like, near a house. There ain't being any... Sorry.
I saw just a flash of the cat in the background.
But there wasn't any storm, and that feels, or at least, like, it didn't feel like there was, so I'm kind of like... There's a question mark in the back of my head of what's going on with the weather. Whether that impacts what I find or not, I don't care. But I just thought I'd let you know that was in my and therefore Luce's brain.
I will keep that in mind. All right, failure on the natural world.
Unfortunately.
Maybe
Jimbo?
the track with a bonus die coming through. Here we go. That is a crit.
What the hell?
That worked. Can I roll a d10?
Well,
Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
There's been a
This-
lot of crits
This session,
camp-
like
this chapter
yeah.
even.
Yay!
Right.
I'm a
What the-
Yay! You're a tracker.
That's
This
absurd.
is.
Do we still get to tick it and then like check for
Yeah, why
improvement
not?
later? As a
Follow it
hell
up.
yeah.
The adding a
jacket.
D10 is a house rule, which Jim and I have played with basically as long as we've played Call of Cthulhu. When it's so stuck in, we are incapable of removing it. It's
Yeah.
natural.
It's a fun roll.
It is,
Yeah. But yeah. Keep.
I think
keep
that
it as well.
I like bend that like I like really. I really don't know what I'm doing. I've got a few points in track, but that's it. I bend down, sort of pick up some stuff, and I'm like crumbling some dirt under my fingers, and then just sort of look up and see like a trail of footprints and like hands where someone has fallen. There's a side of a face imprinted in the mud. With
There's a person-shaped hole in the bushes where they went through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Okay.
Like the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Kool-Aid Gaspar. Okay. Huge. I'm gonna do loose first because the failure is easier. Not a lot to be gleaned from here at the moment. You're more of a sea person than a water person. On the storm though, yeah, you're right. It's been pretty clear skies while you've been here. The storm happened the day before you arrived. There was a very heavy storm that was reminiscent of the one that surrounded the SS Champagne, except it was much shorter lived and dispersed pretty quickly. But of similar severity, like it really, racked the area. If you
Which really
went and got records and things based on newspapers of like where it hit here and further north, you might be able to triangulate kind of where it was centered, but at the moment you don't have that information to hand.
in my head now, there's only two options. The thing that caused the storm has either moved, or the storm's gotten big enough that we're in the middle of it, and we ain't feeling it. Oh, bye, Jim.
We've lost Jim briefly. That's all right. We've got his name to keep us company, and because I'm not hiding people like myself normally, there it can remain. Well, now we'll narrate. Jim, are you there? Quickly.
Seems like no.
As we narrate his crit to
Bye forever.
empty air.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Backup camera engaging, and please continue. Everything is fine.
We're good. Everyone chill out. There's nothing to notice here. Okay. Paul, you got a crit. That's a really low number. I guess I'll just tell you everything and
Yeah,
backwards
please.
from there.
That sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, you can spot where Gaspar came. He has sort of familiar boots or something. He's not a smoker, I don't believe, so there's no signs of cigarette through it. And you can also check like where he stood and paced in front of things. There's also been no one really in the woods since he left, so the fresh prints are the most likely. You can spot a section where he came towards the edge, knelt down or something, and found an item in the muck, and must have picked it up and then pushed further off the path into the woods. He went through the brambles and actually went deeper inside. You can also spot, it's not the first time this path has been used. It's been like walked along once or twice before. There's another couple sets of boot prints going this way. Not by a lot of people, probably by like a singular person over several instances. So it's not like a path so much as just a section of like least difficult terrain where someone has come and gone. Pushing a little bit deeper inside, you will find a crumpled cigarette packet that is yellow.
Oh my god.
This one off towards the side seems to have been missed by Gaspar.
Wait, sorry. This would so I was thinking Gaspar was being followed. That is
No,
not
this
what you
seems
suggested.
older. This seems sorry. This probably existed before Gaspar got here, but
Not
it
necessarily the
is
same
fresher.
time
It's
as the- yeah.
well, it's probably in like within like the last few little days, hours, that sort of thing.
No
So he
sign of
possibly
the
was
storm
being
on it,
followed.
yeah.
No sign of the storm on it. Lastly, if you're concerned of him being followed, he wasn't followed from the direction of Greyport, at least. There's no other tracks going this direction. No one else has come into the woods this way.
I'll share all of this information. I kind of point out the evidence surprising myself as I'm able to identify it and say, so he went into the woods, no one followed him. If he ran into anything, he ran into it on the other side, and I assume he would have turned back. He must have. So he's either lost or he's hunkered down somewhere, or
someone's grabbed him.
But
they didn't follow him from Greyport.
I've got some more information for you,
tell.
Garrett, but it's under the context of pursuing this further. It's just gone 9 o'clock or so. You have this trail. You can follow it. You're pretty sure you can keep tabs on Gaspar. If you wanted to get to the cannery particularly early, you'd want to turn back now.
What do you think, boss?
I can't do it. I can't turn back. I gotta find my grandson. You both are welcome to take this meeting at the cannery, but I've got to.
Well,
I've got to find my grandson. I've got to do it.
You're gonna need Mr. Garrett to lead you, so why don't I go back to the cannery? I've already been there once today. Going in with a bag full of tools, given that I was helping people fix things, isn't gonna look too weird, hopefully, and if anything goes amiss, well, you know how loud I can yell when I need to, Captain.
Paul will try and set me on the trail and show me where it is and where it goes.
I reckon I'll need to come with you for at least most of the way. Hopefully we can find him, turn back, but I hear you. Yeah.
First, the distance is going to be great enough that you will not be able to communicate by yelling this far away.
That wasn't me saying that at all. That was Luce being like, I can yell real loud and people will cut.
Or
it
help.
Will be like, the implication is I can yell loud enough that you'll hear me. That's not true. What Luce is saying is I can be loud and make a ruckus if I have to. It's fine. I'll look after myself.
Okay, I have a different concerning comment then. The location of the cannery and the back entrance and that too will be hard. There beyond the cannery, the closest buildings are mostly the harbor, which is not inhabited at this time. Even yelling at your full volume, you're not confident you'll be heard. If you've literally,
Joe has a gun.
you've been to fight, places where they've set up fights. They do it in areas where the sounds of thrown fists and crowds won't draw attention. This is where you would pick in this town to host something like that.
I am gonna tell Joe on the way because if he's had the kind of background I think he has, I think that me making a god almighty noise, there is a chance that he might hear something and go, that sounds like a thing that might be a problem. In the same way that you can hear murmurations of a crowd from a distance if something happens, and a normal person wouldn't even really think to listen to it. Yeah. But if you're clocked in, you're like, wait a second, that's a bunch of people yelling. Doesn't sound like it, but there's a bunch of people yelling.
We'll
regardless,
we'll play that out then, because I think so your intention is to head back and speak with Joe and put a bit of a plan together, and then go to the meeting at 10. You're heading back now, so you'll have a minute or two to get ready, basically. Right. Paul and Bernie, you're heading deeper into the woods on Gaspar's trail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Worst case scenario, Gaspar and I just end up in the same situation and we all come together again next week. If, the situation isn't we're both dead. Who knows?
In which case, we'll all come together next week.
Yeah!
So Luce turns and heads back the way they came, traipsing through the field and towards the docks. Luce, you'll note that as you go past, the general store's lights are now dark. The only lights on now are people getting ready for bed in houses and things. Everyone's returned home. You make your way towards the harbour, and we'll leave you there for a moment as we follow along with Paul and Bernie, who instead shoulder their equipment and push deeper into the woods. The further you go, the more signs of animal life there is. This is a pretty dense wood. This has natural fauna in it. There are little critters and things like that. It's actually a little comforting. Paul, you've not been back in it yet, but Bernie, when you approached that cove and the sunken ship, you got that feeling of total death again. Silence beyond silence. You know, the murmurations of just passive noise completely deadened. So to have the sort of twitter of birds settling down to sleep, possibly the hoot of owls, don't know if they have them in this state, it like kind of, you're dealing with a more practical thing, you have the feeling, and you set yourself to that task.
Good to know. That is comforting.
Paul, Gaspar didn't go back this way. If he circled around, he went out a different direction, and at your current trajectory, you are heading towards what appears to be the deepest section of the wood that there is. You get to a point where you do find another more recent little patch where someone stood and smoked for a period. And from here on out, given you got a crit, it appears that Gaspar spotted this person and followed them. You don't believe that he was spotted.
I go over it like 2 or 3 times before I tell this to Bernie to make sure that I'm right. It followed someone after spotting them.
Of course he did.
And he didn't come back this way, so he either ran into them or... With the crit, can I get timelines on these tracks? Is that possible? Can I, like, how close?
Yeah.
Can we rule out that he's back at the canning factory? Is kind of the...
You can. I reckon you can rule that out. He spent enough time looking through the woods and trying to he probably spent most of his time on the edge, genuinely intending to come back. He probably spotted something right about sundown, pushed in a little way to see what he could see, spotted something else, pushed a little further, hasn't made it back. So it'd be about 2 hours ago from now. So still reasonably fresh. As you get to like these cigarettes, there's still like the scent of hanging tobacco in the area. This is not super long ago.
So, and the deepest part of the woods isn't necessarily towards where we know the boat is.
It's actually beginning to arc away from it.
Okay. I make all of these points clear. I reckon he's... This doesn't make sense because unless they've got a secondary operation or something out in the woods, maybe it's the campsite of the people who... I reckon we got to follow, right? We can't turn back. We just got to keep...
There was never a question of turning back. I have to find him. I have to find my grandson.
More to the point, there's nowhere else that we can try and intercept this. I don't think that whatever this lead is necessarily points into any of the other directions that we know. Yeah, let's keep going.
Got one more piece of information for you that may not reveal anything. It may not be clear.
Hell yeah.
But I'm just going to give it to you. When you stand at the point where whoever was smoking, looking out, you have there's this little fraction where you can see through the trees, and you actually have a quite well disguised eye line on Greyport. You can just make out the harbour where you'll be able to see ships come and go. And if you look towards the left, you can see that road on our map that heads in the direction of, will probably connect to like the highway or something that goes to that, whoever's house that is, and others. And you can see those like 3 points from standing here. And given the amount of cigarettes and sort of crumpled food wrappers and things.
Someone's been standing here watching.
This is a sentry point, yeah. Well,
whatever, it's all irrelevant until we find Gaspar.
Probably means we're inside their sentry orbit, right?
I guess.
Yeah, could be good. All right, let's just hurry.
Okay. You push further forward, moving quicker now, and soon begin to pick up, floating on the wind, the sound of not birds, but very faint singing. Sort of paws at it, heart clenches, and then moving forward, begin to spot in a sort of natural grove, but quite defended from the elements or any passing eyes, a fairly well set up campsite with a number of tents erected around a perimeter, a cache of supplies, and towards the side, a disguised automobile, which has been covered in sort of like branches and things, and you can actually see the path where it probably punched through sections of wood. It's been pretty like the front of it's been dinged up a bit, and it actually looks at some point it's been fitted for like camping. This is not like a street vehicle, it's a truck.
Yeah.
It has it's like a bay where they could store supplies and things. The singing is Irish.
So I was just getting flashbacks to Time to Harvest and our vehicular jaunt through the woods. So I'm like, these college students.
The sounds of singing are Irish.
Okay, that's better than chanting. It's better than chanting.
You guys have done so well here with this critical success on the track that further pushing will require a stealth check, but you've gotten to here and you've gotten eyes on it. No questions asked. Anything further, and you've kind of just made out the edges. You haven't seen individuals, you haven't gotten count of people, things like that. To clarify as well, in the chanting and the singing, this is more along the lines of like something you'd sing while winding out the night, having a drink. Yeah, they're just like chilling, you know?
Yeah, the smugglers.
Well, there's two options.
The Irish mob, it's
because I just looked through my notes. Sebastian found these things in Ireland. That was what I think. That's where he was in Ireland.
The urns came from Dublin.
Yeah, but so does the Order of the Stone. They also have an office in Ireland and one in Boston. And if the Order of the Stone is based in Ireland, it would make sense that like they might also, as a group of people, come together and sing, you know, traditional Irish songs in Irish, like
they're singing like in Irish Gaelic, like
yeah.
So like it could be the bad people. It could be people we like.
Like I think Order of the Stone coming from Dublin, and the fact that there is a fairly significant Irish contingent in Boston who are also the mob, may all in fact be the same thing.
Probably a pretty good guess.
Or at least related, if not by blood, then by marriage.
Captain, I don't know what we do here. If we go down...
I am already sneaking in.
It's night. Oh.
I'm going. It's my grandson. I'm going. Sorry. Yeah, just as soon as I'm low to the ground, which is very low to the ground. I'm a tiny, tiny old lady. Extremely low center of gravity. Trying to sneak through.
Bernie crouches down, begins to sneak forward. We'll not have you roll yet. We're going to leave this on a little bit of a cliffhanger. And Paul, what do you choose to do?
I hesitate. I'm all in for doing what Bernie says here, but I'm not that sneaky. And also, there's an old woman sneaking into your camp is a little to find.
Terrifying is the word.
I can play the dementia card. This isn't where I parked my boat.
Yeah,
just twigs everywhere.
As soon as there's more of us, it gets a little like But also, I think that Bernie is also the type to sort of assume that orders will be understood and followed, even if they haven't been delivered. I'm caught in trying to interpret what I'm meant to do here. Can you come back to me, Dave?
I'd like to get a hang. Right. I think. Actually, no. I'm all right for if you're okay with your current action being stall. So you can follow or you can hang back, but we'll probably resolve Bernie's role first. And if we get into failure territory, she's possibly getting like spotted and dealt with individually, things like that. It just has a stall is you can always choose to do nothing for the moment.
I'm hovering at the edge of camp, dithering basically, and
Okay.
Yeah, Bernie is not behaving as captain at the moment. Bernie is behaving as Nana. Yeah. Like there's not, and I think it's pretty clear that captaining after, captaining in the truest sense of the word has simply passed to you, Paul, because at the moment, Bernie is not captain, Bernie is Nan.
Yeah, oh dear.
And I think that's probably the impression you get, is that she didn't even Like, I'm not giving
Just
you,
waits,
there's no
yeah.
order, there is no stay here, there's no discussion, it's just, she's going.
This is also, I mean, very similar
Like,
to with the SS Champagne. Once again, this is probably asking you to go beyond your station to sneak into a camp. This isn't
Yeah.
I won't speak for you, Alex, but my understanding, like, Bernie seems to have been very much like, while we're on the ship and under like traditional things, it's a command thing. Once it gets past
the captain.
that, it's
It's up to you, it's your...
yeah. That said,
Yeah.
Paul, you are kind of the person that lost him. So there's a personal thing there too. Like, how do you feel that connection?
Yeah, I do. I think I feel a cycling responsibility of like, I shouldn't have let him go off, but he shouldn't have
He is
started
an adult,
following,
but yeah.
but I should have been there to stop him from following, but he shouldn't have tried to get to the camp, but I should have stopped him from yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I think what I decide is that if this was a captaincy situation, it'd be someone has started sneaking, check if that works, I hover nearby. If this fails, I'm probably, if I can't resolve the situation immediately, intending to back out and come back with reinforcements or some kind of like additional authority.
Okay. Keeping
Yeah.
Overwatch. All right. We will leave Paul and Bernie here for the moment as you return to Luce. Luce, you make your way back through the site and towards the harbour. As you approach, you will spot Joe seated up on the deck, slightly in the shadows, just far enough back that you wouldn't spot him on a first glance, but it's where you kind of left him, so you know to look for him. He's one of the few men in the trade that don't smoke, so there's not even the embers of his cigarette to give him away. And as you come aboard deck, he shifts slightly and steps up to greet you. Can you please give me a luck roll? Out in the distance, looking over Joe's shoulder, you spot a blinking green, then red light, which you're able to interpret from your experience as that's how you can tell which way a ship is facing. As it comes around and a vessel is making its way towards harbour. An estimate of the size and your own intuition, this is probably the Sea's Gifts.
Well, I'm gonna point that out to Joe for sure. Just be like,
He takes it in and then says, "You found Gaspar?"
no, we found where he went, maybe. Captain and Mr. Garrett are on their way to continue, but we got a note at the boarding house saying that there was just said meet at the cannery at the back entrance at 10 p.m. and just in case that had anything to do with Gaspar or anything to do with anything at all, I volunteered to come back and check it out. So
He checks a small watch, says 9:20. You're not going alone.
I mean, I've got my axe.
That axe will become someone else's if they want it. Going alone seems a damn fool thing to do. You're big loose. But if they're organizing this and they expect a lot of you, there'll be more of them than you. Whatever this is, friendly or otherwise.
Are you telling me not to go, or are you offering to come with me?
Rather do neither. Why don't you just let them sit it out? They can sit in the cannery all night as much as they want. Come morning, they can register a complaint with the harbour master. You think they've got Gaspar?
Not necessarily, that's the weird thing. They could do, and if that's what they're angling for, then it's going to be an unpleasant conversation. But if they don't, then I'm not sure exactly what it is they want, and that's what's got me. It piqued my curiosity, for want of a better term. And you know me, Joe, I'm not necessarily particularly curious as a rule, but this is... Something feels like either we have a surprising ally, or there's a weird connection that I think we would benefit knowing about before we went any further. So I want to know what the vibe is. I don't necessarily want to know. I don't care about offers or deals or anything like that. I just want to know who we're dealing with and why.
Listen, I've sent and I've received threats plenty in my time. I read this as such, that there's an isolated place, and if the worst comes to the worst and they had to dispose of a body, that'd be the easiest one to do it. Could be that the sheriff might never find the trail, and given that we're drifters as such, might be they don't look too hard. I'd think very carefully before approaching. They've chosen somewhere isolated. That doesn't read friendly to me.
Good point.
They know where we are. We've made no secret that the Foggy Sea is harbored here. We've registered and everything. They wanted a private meeting, they'd come right over here and talk.
Joe, how'd you like to have a nice rousing game of cards? Just you and I, on the deck, having a nice time, making a little bit of noise, just letting people know we're here, you know?
That sounds plenty fine.
Let
I
me
could
go
stand
get a
to win
couple
some money.
Well, I could stand to lose some after that last trip, so let's go.
Okay.
The plan, if it's not obvious, is we're gonna let it ride, and if they're really interested in coming to talk to us, we're just gonna make it real obvious we're here.
Okay.
They can come to us if
All
they
right.
wanna.
The two of you set up. Joe begins to shuffle the cards and deal them out.
I absolutely assume Joe has his gun very close to hand, and my axe is within arm's reach, but like out of sight.
Just on the corner of the table or something, yeah. It'd be very hard to... You guys are higher up than any of the other ships. Even... Only if they got aboard would they have a chance of seeing it, and even then it's out of the way. No chance. It's hidden. And Joe's...
Can I grab it? In the time that they could clock it, could I have it in my hands and be like ready to go, essentially? Without having to... So yeah, have a nice time. I don't know, we've got I know we have technically it's a communications radio. For the sake of silliness, could we have some kind of like radio that's just playing some real like kind of silly 1920s, 30s, just kind of like, we'll turn
Sally,
like the... Yeah, exactly. We'll have like some of the cabin lights turned on. I'm gonna put a couple of bottles out, like make it look like we're drinking. So there'll be a couple of bottles, like empty bottles that are around. I will water down the bottles that we're actually drinking, or have them probably water them down so that they still kind of smell like it still smells like we've been drinking. If that was to be a thing. Luce has had enough bar fights to know how to make something look like a bar fight.
Yeah.
Or you know.
Do you also... Are you trying to paint the picture that the entirety of the crew are present?
No.
Loud enough that there's others there? Okay, just the two of you.
No, it's... I actually like the... It's not this, because I don't think Luce is sort of about it this like, but it's almost a double bluff. There's only two of them. They're so obvious. Clearly, if you're like in the mindset of double crossing people, there's obviously got to be more people around. I have no intention, like Luce is not gonna bluff in that direction, but that's like kind of where the situation would be, is like if you're in the frame of mind to be double crossing people, your frame of mind is gonna go, but there's gotta be more people. It's like, no, it's just a dude with a gun and a lady with an axe.
Hidden.
Yeah, it's gonna suck for you, the first like surprising, but yeah.
Yep, okay, awesome. You guys post up and make a bit of a scene of it. Time comes, shifts along, money changes hands, and the pack of cards is shuffled several times. As it gets close to 10, you will see the Sea's gifts come in and not assume it's berth that it's taken every other time. It's instead posted on the jetty closest to the cannery, and you'll see a couple of figures hop off. Both of them are smaller. You can't confirm who they are, but you eliminate Jacob Linden, the first mate, and Bobby Northman, the larger brother, who are two much stronger figures. They're either still aboard or elsewhere. These two figures make their way down the jetty, clearly aware of you, and sort of keeping, one eye on the cards and one eye on the figures. You'll spot one cut between a few houses and begin to hike up towards the cannery, and the other one kind of enters the shadows around there and doesn't immediately leave. You're not exactly sure where they are just then. At one point while dealing, Joe will say 10 and then resume the shuffle and play another round. Can you give me another luck roll?
Probably not, but we'll see.
Did well in the first, and you got over 50.
Oh my god, yes.
A
This is
figure.
why I hold my luck.
A figure. There are multiple people in this town who wouldn't mind a word with you, and you spot, heading in this general direction, the sheriff. You've come into town, hasn't had a chance to talk to you yet, and you are roaming people. Curious that you're here and you're settled for so long. He's making his way along. Now, you rolled an extreme success here. You have the window, if you wish, to put away the booze and reduce the card playing and, tidy that out. You also could...
Booze is technically illegal, sorry. My brain was going, that's still a thing that's totally reasonable, but yeah.
So, you could... Well, it does still sell the story very much. And even then, it's a crime, but would possibly just explain, you could be, lean into that. It's up to you how you want to handle this. Also, if he's possibly involved in an operation. Who knows? Anyway, could be untold risks here.
Prohibition law, but it's not sense of getting into that.
Yeah. So, he's coming towards you. Honestly, you kind of have the initiative here. You could try and head him off and just head him in a different direction. You could kill everything and go to bed, and then he might just wander off. Or you could contact him. Perhaps something illegal is happening at the cannery. Up to you. You can see him there. If no action is taken, he will make his way towards the boat shortly.
I know that Joe wants to avoid the law as a whole.
Yeah.
So I will let Joe know, looks like the sheriff is coming to have a word, and give him an opportunity to decide what he wants to do. I suspect he's probably going to want to kill the game and, disappear.
Yeah. He doesn't even want... He'll probably, as you say that, he'll reach over, take the couple of bottles and start to tidy things up. And I can head below deck while you have a conversation if you like.
If you could, if there's anywhere you could be with a sight line or something like that, I certainly wouldn't be mad about having, a bit of Overwatch, if you know what I mean. But
I'll be within calling distance, but understand, I'm not going to attack a cop. I don't need that kind of heat.
Let me assure you, Joe, if I'm asking you to attack anyone, they're not going to be the type of cop that's, let's just say there's something else going on there,
He just said,
I
heat.
understand.
He goes, heat's heat, and he heads downstairs.
Yeah, I will similarly, tidy some stuff away. I'm gonna keep the axe within relatively easy reach, but, I don't know if there's somewhere I can hang it so it looks more like just part of the
hidden.
The stuff that we have on the boat.
Tape it under the table.
Yeah, it's
more like having a fire axe on a boat to cut a line or do something like that doesn't seem impossibly weird. So, but I'm also happy to just have it.
It would be the thing. It would be expected to be restrained. It would be tied down or in a box or something. It probably would be. You just push it out of the way. It's easily hidden. There's so much stuff here.
Polishing it and oiling it to prevent rust, which you're gonna have to do with everything that's metal on the ship.
All true and all suspicious.
Oiling things on a boat is not suspicious. Anything metal is gonna rust the heck out of that.
When people are looking for murderers and they come across people oiling weapons late at night, they get suspicious.
That's fine. Yeah, I think I will set up with I'll play solitaire.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit and kind of have some card doing whatever, a solitaire or a single player game. kind of making it look like I have just been on kind of watch. You know, just kind of posting up, making sure that the ship is okay while in town. Like,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah. All right. You post up looking to be alone and just keeping tabs on things, and see the sheriff making his way down the jetty. He seems, by his stance, not a sailor himself, but not uncomfortable around ropes in the area. He's lived in a seaside town all his life. He is probably perfectly capable on a ship. He's a land man, though. You know, that's where his job is. He walks alongside, takes in the ship. He's clearly just like registering things at first, but given you make no attempt, and it would be rude if not to, he will call out and say, "Good evening. I'm Sheriff Barrett. Please make your acquaintance."
Pleasure to make yours. Luce McAllister of the FV Foggy Sea. So I was like, which? Yeah, FV Foggy Sea. Did you want to come aboard, Sheriff?
It'd be a pleasure, thank you. He'll accept your hand and shake it as he does so, and then hoist himself up and onto the ship. Again, clearly comfortable aboard. He, like, you know, does a scan of the area, but doesn't seem to be immediately, like, studying specifics, more just getting a sense of things. He'll sit down across from you in the chair that Joe was in most recently, and rock back slightly. He'll say, I understand your crew's staying with Mrs. Armand at the bed and breakfast.
Oh, yes. She's a delightful woman. Very kind of her to lend us part of her home while we're here.
It is very generous of her. I called in while I was on the way over, and there's no one in at the moment. I was hoping to speak with your captain.
Oh, I'm afraid the captain's away at the moment. Sorry.
May I ask where?
I believe her and the first mate went to get some air. Had a walk around the woods.
Right, I see.
Picking in the area.
Ship's registered for 5. There's a Mr. Evans and a young Green. The two present?
Yes. Mr. Evans downstairs, but he's asleep at the moment. He tends to, you know, he's been keeping an eye on the ship while we've been, you know, spending time in the bed and breakfast. So I thought I'd give him a chance to have a break. So he's downstairs, but having a kip.
Reasonable, and I apologize again for calling so late, and it's unfortunate we haven't had a chance to speak before. I just making the rounds before I settled in and thought it might have been a good opportunity, and it was only given I saw you were awake I wanted to speak.
But of course, it's I'm sorry we haven't had a chance to come in and properly introduce ourselves. I understand there's been some funny business with people floating in and out. Terribly sorry to hear that, so definitely didn't want to give the impression we weren't here to cooperate with the law. Not
at all, not at all. I understand you've been asking around some questions yourself. I heard you were members, or you were the ship that went out to the SS Champagne.
Aye, nasty bit of business, that one, unfortunately.
That's where my dead gentleman came from.
Yeah, we're that's part of the reason we're asking around. You see, we got hired to go and have a look, go and check to see why the ship hadn't come in, and when we found out there was a gentleman who we assumed had been dead, got murdered in your town, well, part of, you know, I'm sure as a man who looks into all kinds of interesting cases, you can understand the itch of having a thread left untied when you thought it had already been tied. So we are here to try and understand why someone who ought to be dead wasn't, but now is.
I understand.
Very unfortunate to, I suppose in a way you could almost say died twice, which is horrible, really.
You could exactly say that. That's all reasonable. Curiosity's no crime, unless it becomes one. So you're free to keep asking around, and you hear anything interesting, you can speak with me. Now, my young deputy has gotten in his mind somehow that this here is university business. And I can understand why the Miskatonic is curious about what's happening here, but I want to be clear with you, just in case you've gotten other ideas into your head, and I ain't suggesting you have. Just want to clear them if they're there. This is under my what's the word? Jurisdiction. This is under my jurisdiction. I'm treating it seriously, and we aim to find out what happened. This isn't going to be swept under a rug. This isn't going to be run through news rags for no reason. Someone died, and if the killer is here, I aim to find out.
Sheriff, in that respect, we are entirely aligned. I have no interest in having... I, personally, have no interest in getting involved in anything wider than just myself, my crew, and rest of the crew. It's not mine, obviously. And finding out what happened to this gentleman so we can put the whole matter to bed. The less that gets said about it, the better, in my opinion. So if there's anything we can do to help your investigation, you only have to ask. If there's anything you would be willing to share with us so we can put our own questions to bed, that would be greatly appreciated, but I understand this is your jurisdiction and your decision.
If there's anything you've found that you can share, I'd be grateful for it. As far as what I know that can be shared with you, most of it's been published with the paper. We think it was someone just coming and going through. Why Mr. Torres was here is unknown so far. But say, you got some ties to the university, or it seems as so as such. What do you know of a Dr. Sebastian?
Honestly, more than I cared to. To be quite honest, I knew he was an archaeologist to Ireland, found a bunch of weird things and was bringing them back on the SS Champagne.
And a professor at the Miskatonic University.
Correct.
Quite a senior one.
I'm not sure about his position overall. I just know the ins and outs of, what happened to the SS Champagne, and because, they had to explain what was happening. We went on it.
All right. Well, appreciate your candor. He stands up and readies himself to leave.
Sheriff, forgive the question, but the Sea's Gifts, is that a well-regarded ship around here?
It's a fine vessel, much as I've seen it. Good crew, comes in regularly. Harbormaster's never made any complaints. Had a little run-in with Lyndon in a time. He can run hot, and he's quick to make his claims, but I've got it in hand. He pauses a bit at the at hands, and seems that he's convincing himself a little bit there, maybe.
Do I have the note on me?
It's reasonable. You were the one going back, unless, Paul, you wanted to keep it. I think so.
No, I probably would have handed it over, if anything.
In that case, making absolutely no attempt to either link this statement to the previous one or not to link it to the previous one, I'm just going to say, we got a bit of an odd note left for us at the boarding house, and given all the strange things that are happening, maybe it's nothing, maybe it's something, but I thought maybe you'd like to take a look, and I just hand him the note without any context of like what's in it. I just go, this was left for us. It's a bit weird stuff's happening.
He steps forward and opens the note under the light you were using to play the cards, and he reads over it. And as he does, he then looks up, and peering over the other smaller vessels, you can see the Sea's Gifts, and just above it, the cannery, which, would you know it, just at this moment, a figure is just moving past that back door and heading back inside. You don't have anyone going there, do you?
No.
Do you have any idea what this could be about?
Honestly, Sheriff, none whatsoever. It seems incredibly weird. That your man Hodges wanted to have a bit of a chat with us when we came in, very interested about the SS Champagne and what had happened. Seemed interested in the story. I didn't go myself. I was feeling a bit tired after the trip. Wanted to make sure the old foggy sea was in good nick. But no, other than that, we've had no real interaction with him. I mean, other than a couple of interesting looks across decks, if you understand my meaning.
Damn it. I reckon Lyndon's got in his mind he's going to deliver you a stern word, have you get out of town. He doesn't like how things are being handled, and he wants to take a little action of his own. I'm going to head over there, and I'm going to sort this out. Appreciate you bringing it to my attention.
Of course. When you say stern word, are you going alone a good idea, Sheriff?
Wake the deputy up. He can come and earn his badge.
Well, I haven't met the deputy, but good luck to him. If
This is official business. I'm not looking to raise a mob. We can handle it. Although I appreciate anything you may have offered. He heads towards the edge and begins to, and he says, "Yeah, I'll get going now, just in case a meeting's missed. Wouldn't want to be rude." He begins to lower himself down, and he pauses just before his head dips below level, and he says, "You never mentioned where Mr. Green was."
Oh, he took a bit of a walk in the woods a little earlier this evening.
And now?
I assume he's met up with the others. Hopefully.
Well, I'll be damned, Miss McAllister, if that ain't just a little bit suspicious. I reckon I'll be speaking to you soon. He'll drop down the rest of the way, and he turns, walking with long strides, up into town, presumably to rally his deputy.
For the record, the he went walking earlier in context of the other two went after him is in addition to the note, hope, like, I'm aiming for, like, we're not sure and we have concerns, but I'm not interested in necessarily going, hey, I think something's wrong. Mostly because we're new in town and it feels weird. So it is a nod to the sheriff to let him know something weird is happening without completely going, here's what's going on. In the hope, like, he can think it's suspicious. He can think it's like me trying to tell him something without being like too obvious. But yeah, the intention was to make a connection there, was for him to clock that. I wasn't trying to hide it at all.
Yeah, no, 100%. Okay, he makes his way and heads off. There is a window here where you can depart, remain, head across towards the Sea's Gifts, up towards the cannery, or do you just want to stay here and to see how things unfold for the moment? It's be about 10:15 now.
I think at this stage, I don't have any way really of knowing where the others have gone or where, like, getting through the woods. Yeah, I think Lucius is going to kind of just have to remain because there isn't really anywhere else for Luce to go at this point. The sheriff specifically said, I don't want your help. And so, like, you know, Luce is not going to stick their nose into something that isn't their business. If at bare minimum, Luce is not necessarily a fan of the law in like the law is a good thing, but is also like not about breaking rules just because they're rules. So if the sheriff says no, I don't want help, then it's his business, it's his body, he does what he wants. I will.
Do you want to resume the card playing in a sort of we're here if you want to have a conversation manner?
No, I think at this point I will potentially see if Joe's happy to come back on deck, and essentially will probably sit kind of more concealed and have a quiet conversation. Maybe still play some cards, but it's more like we are now both on lookout. Yeah. And by that I mean Joe's probably one who will see things. I will be the one that hits it with an axe if necessary.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, perfect. The two of you settle in and wait to see what happens next. We go back now to Paul and Bernie. And Bernie, can you please make a stealth roll?
Here we go.
It's nice stealth. There you are.
Oh,
It's
thank
a
God.
green day, honestly.
It's
It's rolling very well. Bernie, you stay low, quiet, out of the way, and under the cover of singing, approach the camp. You quickly get an estimate that there's probably not a huge cohort of people here. You can see there are 3 sitting around a fire. They are the ones singing. They are also drinking, and you can see propped up along their sides are a couple of what look to be like hunting style rifles that one might take like pursuing deer or other large game. You'll also notice as you move past it that there is a glint from the glasses they are drinking out of, and the word chalice is actually more apt. They're like these gilded, pearled goblets that they're hoisting up, and the liquor they're drinking, though, is much more traditional. It's just like a bottle of like whiskey, like branded and everything. Like it's clearly from pre-prohibition.
Well,
That's just been posted somewhere.
It would be Irish whiskey that is either pre-prohibition or smuggled in, because that was what was being smuggled into Boston, was a lot of Irish whiskey.
Circling around and now beginning to leave the sort of line of Paul's eyesight, you can see one of the tents has a light on inside, and you can just make out hushed voices. Talking, hushed as in not whispering, but just having a conversational level, which is kind of drowned out by the singing and rustling of leaves and everything else, you know?
Right. No sign of Gaspar.
No present sign of Gaspar.
Okay. I might see if I can circle around, because the tents are on the outside, yeah? Like this, there's like a ring of tents. I might see how close I can get to one.
It's not a full ring. There's like 2 tents and a supply tent or something, and then the car. But there is a ring, and then there's a fire in the center.
Yeah. Well, because the tents are on the edge, not in the center, I might see if I can kind of skirt around and get behind the tent that where the conversation is happening, and hear what I may hear.
Okay. Paul, what are you doing at this period? Seems like Bernie's moving pretty quietly and unnoticed, but is beginning to get away from reasonable swift action.
I think that this has just gone fantastically. Bernie's actually making good progress here. I'm going to position myself sort of ready. I fall into kind of like a backup position here. We had a pack, I presume. I like swing down my pack. I redo my bootlaces. I get ready to sprint in immediately, but I stay distinctly hidden. I'll also try and have a look at the eye of the land in the back of my head. I'm planning if I could get to that car, how would I do some cool thing of moving it around?
Okay. The car has a relatively, you can see the track that they punched through, and they've made some effort to make sure that it's doable again, but it then has been obfuscated. Hopping in the car and just starting it. It's not been set up for a quick getaway. They've got it so they can get it going. There are branches on it. They've got some packs still in it. It could be done, but it'd be making rolls, basically.
Sure.
If you wanted to, you could start heading towards the car in an attempt to just do something immediately, but that would be the same sort of like stealth and everything wrong.
No, I think I'm very boring here. I can see that Bernie's really gone well, but I'm like, this is my cool era. So I've got the knife out. I'm crouched. I'm ready to run in, but I don't interrupt what seems to be a good thing yet.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. You stay off towards the side, and Bernie approaches.
Otherwise, just if you're happy for me to wait for the opportune moment, that might give me a stealth bonus die to attempt it. I'm also happy to be waiting for the opportune moment.
Okay, yeah, sure. You just take your time and then you'll sneak up or go the long way or whatever. Yeah, okay, understood. Okay, we'll leave you there for the moment then. And Bernie, you sneak round the side and towards the back of the tent. You can make out voices from within. The first has a distinctly Irish accent, quite posh adjacent, and it's saying, now listen here, you're messing with forces that you don't understand. you're going to want to turn away from this course unless you want to suffer the same fate as all those aboard the SS Champagne. A second voice, you immediately recognize as your grandson's, says, "We're just trying to help. If you'd only explain a little bit about what's going on, I'm sure we can come to some kind of agreement." What are you doing, Bernie? Do you want to just sit and listen and see how they go? It doesn't appear to be... It's a tense conversation, certainly, but Gaspar doesn't sound gagged or anything. He's able to talk, at least. Now you're able to just make out from the silhouettes. You think that Gaspar is inside seated, probably the furthest from the flap, and then there are two figures across from him. One, the prime that's probably talking to him, and then another one standing at the entranceway.
I'm happy to keep listening for a second. You know, I just... Hopefully they let him go and we can all get out of here. I'm glad to, mostly just relieved to have found him, but I don't think he's completely incompetent, so I am going to let him keep talking and see if he can talk himself out of this.
Okay.
He's a smart kid. I have a degree of faith in him. But now I'm just very glad that I'm here, just in case. Just in case I need to. If he's sitting the furthest from the flap, that
closest
means he's
to you.
sitting closest to me. Just pull the back of the tent up and.
Worst case, yeah. This is like it's not fixed through.
While Coyote his ass out of there.
Yeah. Okay, so spoke with Jackson before he left. It did say, "Am I cool to basically play your character and make rolls and things?" Looking at his character sheet, his highest skill is fast talk. So I'm going to make a roll for him. And
I don't know if it's better or worse you playing him.
Oh, it's probably almost certainly worse. So he's going to and I'm kind of opening this to the group here a bit. My read on Gaspar would be try to get some information out of them and then ultimately just talk them down and let himself, and then kind of just feign innocence, because his general thing is like, I don't know anything. That's like, all I know is that there was an SS Champagne. I stayed on board the whole time, and so on and so on and so on. Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
Yeah, I think it'll be I'm just asking questions. I'm just, a bookish young man who has an insatiable appetite for information and knowledge, and I've got knowledge, and you could give me knowledge, and we could give each other knowledge, and we could be, if not pals, then co-conspirators, collaborators.
Exactly, and then just talk them in circles for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Fast talk is definitely, they're like, I'm gonna give you nothing, but try and get stuff.
Exactly.
It's very Jackson playing Gaspar.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if this green wall of green stays.
Green for the greens.
Fuck us, Dave.
That's pretty good. He's done well.
Could you spend 1 point of Jackson's luck, please?
Yeah.
For a hard success.
Yeah, please.
That feels, why not?
Given that he's got like almost none.
Oh, he has very little luck, actually.
No, I think we sit on the success for this one.
1 point feels...
No, he has like none, dude.
That would be
I'm not going to spend his resources, I don't think.
Spending resources without his permission feels
because
especially luck, like...
This'll... So, you hear Bernie, and you've heard him do this before when he tries to shift tasks, and when he was a kid, he did it a lot to just get out of doing things, shift work onto his siblings or cousins, stuff like that. He just immediately goes into this, like, what do I know? I've got nothing to do with this. We were only there. We were just trying to help. Exactly. And in this, you can feel frustration building up from the other gentleman's side, who's very proper and seems to be trying to sort of like, be like, this is such a serious situation that you cannot possibly grasp.
I get it.
And
I grasped it just fine.
Exactly. And in doing so, Gaspar does wheedle a little bit of information out of him. This man, who is referred to as first Tobias by Gaspar, and then later as Mr. O'Shaughnessy by a person with a Boston American accent by the door, possibly Boston Irish, is the sibling of the woman masquerading as Jane first and then claiming to be Michelle, who you met on the Champagne. And they have a similar bearing, although this one seems to be much less, a little less competent, maybe, kind of like getting through it a bit. As they're talking for a little bit, it gets towards a conclusion, and you get the impression at this point that they're probably not going to hurt Gaspar. They're just trying to scare him off. But to drive that point home, they say, well, you were close enough to the SS Champagne that you know things are serious, and people can and people will die if this continues. Now, we're not afraid to kill if people get too close. We're not going to risk anything. That body, that'll be you if you keep sticking your nose where it doesn't belong.
Yay, murder confession.
So now we're going to escort you out of here. We're going to point you back towards town, and we want you and your crew to be gone by morning. Do I make myself clear? Gaspar has a few more questions to clarify, runs it in circles a bit, never commits to leaving, and then after a while, Tobias seems to just get frustrated with the conversation and says, take him out, get him gone, back to town, quick as you can. And Gaspar is hoisted up and walked towards the flap in the tent. Paul and Bernie, from your independent vantage points, you will see Gaspar now emerging, healthy, whole, a little bit muddied from traipsing about in the woods a bit, and walked into the firelight and then handed across to two gentlemen, one of them drunk, one of them relatively sober, who will get him up and begin walking the way that Paul currently is. That seems to be their path in and out of here. Another couple beats just while you're in there, because you'll notice it. There's a laundry line strung up between a couple of the trees with like 3 brown hooded robes, like cultist robes, just hung up on them as they're doing their laundry. Bernie, as they leave, they abandon the tent for a moment. And Paul, they're going back the way you are. What are the two of you independently doing? You do not have the means to communicate, not even visually at the moment.
Paul immediately goes like, there's one alone and we know there's low numbers, we could take him, but doesn't want to commit. So I back up and will intend to let them pass me. And kind of drift along. I'm expecting Bernie to follow so that we can all rally. I'm trying to stay hidden and still be a disaster relief. I'm continue to play support.
Okay, I am going to need a stealth roll from you. You can take a bonus dice because you've set yourself up a bit here. It's dark. You just need to be off the side and not the most obvious thing to look at.
Yeah, I'm not trying to play too passive here. I just feel like we have an advantage.
Yeah. Things don't always need to be done.
Okay. Well, actually, I'll 6 points of luck to succeed.
Hey.
Okay.
You'd love to see it.
You slide off the side and slipping a little bit, scroll yourself behind a tree, and the figures begin to walk past. Gaspar's being escorted, but it's not like gun in the back. That said, you do see as one of the cultists goes past, they have, and I say cultist, because they have this long, wicked dagger. Yeah, exactly. They've got a long dagger pushed through a belt, and it seems to be very, like, ceremonial knife.
Is it two-bladed?
It is not two-bladed, but it is double-edged, which is the one. Yeah, it's like a cool twin.
Sorry, I meant to say double-edged.
Yeah, it's like, It's
yes, it is double-edged, and this is it's not unique in that, but it's definitely a rarer thing. Sword, I think, as Jackson was saying, it's a weapon for hurting.
It's an itty bitty sword.
Yeah. They will move past you, and Paul, you will be able to fall in. Bernie, what are you doing just as they leave?
Knowing this is that dude was the brother of the chick we met. The chick being part of the Order of the Stone. The Order of the Stone being a group who she was the one who told us how to basically get the urns to the bottom of the sea. She was trying to protect people and...
That's right. As they leave too, you'll get
the feeling that her and her brother may not be on the same side.
You do get a look at Lisa and see that Tobias is does have a you can see the similarity once he comes out. You definitely would go like they're probably siblings or at least cousins.
If this was the Order of the Stone, I would have no issues being like, well, we're concerned about the urns just like you are, and, you know, we're responsible alongside your sister for destroying the previous ones. But these guys have a much more threatening vibe than our Irish mate from the ship did.
It could genuinely be like a US island divide.
Yeah, like
Gaspar was
mean they're on the same side.
Gaspar was literally told that there is a chapter in Boston of the Order of the Stone, and that's possibly where Michelle went. This was information that he got while he was with you, Paul, so you kind of gotten that and shared it along. This is what Dr. Bethnell had discovered.
I don't necessarily think that they're on different sides. I think they're using different methods. I think Tobias is just far more willing to get obstacles out of the way because like he sees what they're doing as a like world saving thing. Also, we don't know if Michelle threatened Dr. Bethnell.
You met Michelle. She had a gun pointed to Dr. Bethnell's head.
I have no illusions that she would have killed people. It's more that like we were useful to this exact same group on the SS Champagne. Like we basically did what they were trying to do on the SS Champagne. We did that for them. So like it strikes me as a little weird for them to be like, yes, we know that you, or maybe they don't know yet, but it strikes me as a little weird if Gaspar was giving some degree of information.
He was pretty restrictive with information intentionally.
Or that Michelle would have not told them that this crew from this boat basically did the thing we were trying to do for us. So it strikes me as a little odd that they're so hostile when we basically saved their ass last time. So I'm not all in. There was a moment there where I was just like, well, we just offer to help. We tell them what we did, what we achieved, and if they're interested in achieving it again, maybe be a little kinder to us and stop threatening us. However, not entirely convinced that is the best approach anymore. The temptation to like just peek into the tent, see if I can weasel something out from under the back of it, is really, really high. So I mean, extreme success on my stealth roll. I might just peeky weeky.
See what's going on.
Looky look. Not to try.
Be very rude not to try. You, with Gaspar removed from the situation, and you wait until he's far enough gone that, like, even if you're caught now, it's a separate thing. They're not going to immediately just, like, whack. Because in theory, he's been told, like, take him to the edge and let him go. Yeah. Even if you get caught now, that'll happen independently, and Gaspar will presumably leave, unless they then need to go and get him again. It'll be a whole separate thing. And Paul's nearby. You lean underneath it, catch one of the latches, and slide inside. There's an awkward sort of rustle of canvas for a moment. I wouldn't go
the whole way in. I'd probably just like a little quick peeky peek and a little.
And then you're able to look
grab.
On a very cursory glance, you can see that this is set up to accommodate 2 people sleeping on the side, and then there is a small table with a couple of camp stools put towards the edge of it. On that table is a map of the area with a bunch of crosses put through locations, as it looks like they're ticking something off.
I want that.
Okay.
I want that.
You reach up
want that.
And you take that down.
Sloop.
Secondly, towards the side is an instrument case or something, or a gun case. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah, I'm not going to try that. I'm not even going to push it. I'll just look at it and like, there's no way I can slide that out the back of like this little
It'd
lifty
definitely be a bit of a
thing.
Yeah,
no. I'm not pushing it that far. I'm taking the map, but yeah, anything that looks like I wouldn't be able to like slide it under the back of the tent, I'm not going to go for.
Do you have any firearm skill, Bernie? I was going to say if you might be able to identify what this is.
Not really. No, I really don't. Okay. I'm okay with... Okay, if it's a rifle or a shotgun, maybe. I've got rifle shotgun is pretty good. Which I assume is more to
maybe
do
just
with,
can you give me a straight intelligence roll? This is going to be hard, I think, to get the... You think it's a weapon. I'm just giving it... This is if you can get some specifics.
Nah,
okay.
No idea.
Weapon of some style. You grab the map though, and it's a folded one of the area. It's got the tourist stuff written on the outside. Greyport's such a minor place. It's not of Greyport. It's of like the larger region around it, and a lot of the crosses are really focused on this section here. As you do, you can stuff it into your coat. And remove yourself from the area. Just a couple of cursory things that are nearby in case you want to sort of push your luck a bit while you're here. There's probably one of those sort of knives. There's probably a goblet, and there's probably a set of robes. Each of these would be pushing it a little bit further. I probably need a roll at this point if you want to try and scoop any of that.
Not today. Got
Okay.
the map. I am small and limited, and I'm not, having found my grandson, I'm not gonna. Yeah. I want to get the gang back together. Crew is priority 1. Cult shit is down the list.
Okay. Yeah. All right. You grab the map, head back the way you came.
And I'm not really comfortable with any of that shit anyway.
Yeah. Stuff him. Head back the way you came and can rally with Paul, who emerges from the bushes. The two of you rejoin and can follow along the same path that Gaspar has taken. You don't think he knows that you're following him, but it's a lot like he is, that you are, and he's keeping up conversation to distract them or anything. Maybe that's just what he does when he's by himself. It's not really clear. You can follow them back the way through, and we're not going to need rolls to avoid these two characters. You can skirt off the side as they return, and then make your way to rejoin Gaspar and the others.
I do a little whisper of like, we don't want to try and knock one of them out now, do we?
No, I'm not entirely convinced they're the enemy, but I don't think they're friends either.
Okay, yeah. Let's take our luck.
Okay. As the others depart, Gaspar begins to, you could see him sort of like check his watch and go, shit! And then it looks towards the courthouse, shit! And then starts heading towards the bed and breakfast, given the time of night.
Yeah, at this point, it'd be basically just...
Yeah, put him out of his misery.
Grab him. Listen, you little shit.
You grab him, and there's a reunion where he possibly didn't realize the level to which he was in danger, and he kind of just lost track of time and everything. He'll quickly explain that he saw the signs of the same yellow packet that these members had left, and he followed them, and then when he saw a figure, he tracked them into the woods, surprised at his own skill. Unfortunately, they did see him once he finally approached, and they encouraged him to have a polite conversation. I'll leave it for suggestions from here, but basically, at the time, he thought, well, we've caught the murderer. Like, they did it. It's pretty clear that it was them that killed Marco Torres. That said, otherwise, they know where they are and everything, and you can play those cards however you wish. Are you intending to head back? I presume head back to rejoin Luce aboard the ship. And you can sort of head in a direction like that in the cannery.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you want to do immediately. Okay.
No.
All right.
Crew back together, please.
All right. Last thing then. So as you make your way back, it's sort of 10:30 or so. So timelines are about resyncing. You guys are just coming around the corner of the harbor. Luce, you are able to spot the police, the sheriff and his deputy arrive. They come round the corner, and you can only pick it up when the car begins to crest up towards the cannery and park before the front doors with the beams shining across it. You will see both the sheriff and the deputy step out. They are not carrying like openly guns, but they have holstered pistols. And can I get you to make a spot hidden roll, please?
Oh, probably not. I get Joe to help me.
Yeah, take a bonus dice. You've kind of set this
Go
up and
onto
everything.
the pier, and they've got those coin-operated binoculars.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yay!
might... Yeah, success regardless.
Nicely done.
But...
You spot figures leaving via the back, clearly having been tipped off by the arrival and sliding down the bank. They are very eager to avoid a confrontation with the police, it would appear. They also head towards where the Sea's Gifts is moored nearby. You see one figure running up from behind where they were in the shadows, and quickly the crew of the Sea's Gifts rally, and the ship heads out. The boat, rather, it's not a full ship. And it begins to head out towards the sea. They are dipping, in a word. Is there anything you'd like to do? Otherwise, the others will arrive nowish.
Just because what could I do in this situation?
You could try and the ship will have a horn. You could try and sound it to get the police's attention and point them out. You did succeed on these people coming down, so you might be able to yell. They are a distance. I mentioned like yelling won't make it, so no particular communication. The other one would be like ram the boggy sea into them or something. I don't know.
Stop and cut them off. Yeah.
Take Joe's guns and wing the helmsman. Basically, I'm giving you the opportunity to do a lot of really stupid stuff if you want to take it, or you can just not.
No, I think what I would like to do is, because they are going to have some kind of light in order to navigate. It's not possible to do that in the dark.
For sure. Yeah.
I would like to clock what their bearing is.
Okay. Very good.
Which direction they are going, and I don't know if I would be able to tell speed from here and what I can see, but if I can get an idea of their bearing and potentially the speed they're going at, I will absolutely, should the sheriff come asking, be very happy to provide that.
Give them a little bit of extra information. Fantastic. Can you give me a navigation roll?
No.
Okay.
Alternatively, if you just take down bearing and time and leave it for the captain to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can, I'm happy to make a navigate roll, although like, I don't love the idea of fumbling and getting it completely wrong, because I'm not interested in, I'm happy to just take, like, this is the bearing, this is the time,
basically
this seems to be the speed.
Yeah.
I'm giving that information. I don't want to be like, I think they're going to be here. I'm like, here's the information, you work it out.
This is sort of I do need a roll because this is, you're very much right. Hang on, just quickly. I did check up Joe's sheet quickly. He does have 50 navigation. Can you just roll a D100 and we'll have Joe jot it down, and this will just be if he's able to get the information quickly, and work with Luce to record it.
Hey.
Yep. Oh my god, that's a 4. I thought it was a 14. Okay, extreme success.
I could have rolled that.
Yeah, that would have done it for you as well.
But that's fine.
That's amazing. Okay, yeah.
I will.
He gets the information.
He can have that.
He gets the information, has their heading, speed, and jotting it down will have a sense of where they're going. As you all reunite and he keeps tabs on them, they don't go very far out. They basically get a bit of a ways around, swing back, kill their lights at this point, and put down the anchor a little ways away. They're basically just getting out, but they're not like full fleeing or anything. It's just we don't feel like having that conversation, and he can't get us if we're out here. And they drop everything down. Paul, Bernie, and Gaspar approach, and we're gonna wrap the session up here in a moment, but I do want to get your direction of where you're going next, because there's a few things currently in motion. There is the Seas Gifts, which has headed out and dropped anchor. It's late. They may keep a watch, but people might be going to sleep soon. There is the Sheriff, who is at the moment going into the cannery. They'll probably be in there for a little while they check things out, and they might want to come back and have another conversation. They expressed interest in speaking to the captain and possibly the rest of you. There is also this house that you saw, where presumably something horrible was done, and there is a group of cultist members in the woods.
I propose that we basically plan to leave. We have, I think what they're all looking for, or kind of the big central piece, is actually what we sort of stumbled upon just searching the coast. We know where there is a crashed ship with probably links to the Champagne. I think we prep our ship, maybe get a little occult symbol on the hull or something.
Yeah.
And we sail out and we go there. And if the sheriff comes to talk to us in the meantime, we say, what we were doing? Well, we found a bunch of drifters in the wood. You should go and speak to them. But frankly, we're going to leave because your town is weird.
Because they threatened us and told us we should leave, so we're going to leave. Also, they said what happened to the other guy will happen to us. So that's as good as a murder confession to me. Go forth, sheriff, and do some sheriffing.
If you check them, you'll find the weapon that did it. Yeah.
Oh, and the daggers and the hoods.
Yeah, like...
The only thing that
they asked us to leave.
The conversation that I had with the sheriff, I got the impression that this is a man who wants to keep his town safe. And I think if we were able to tell him that we believe that there was something on the SS Champagne, like something, a dangerous object, we don't need to be specific, that possibly was brought to...
We could get his help.
Yeah, and say, like, we, based on, like, There's a jetty attached to a building that ostensibly isn't meant to be there.
I don't want anyone else. I don't want to curse anybody else with this shit. Ultimately, the sheriff seems like a nice enough person. I don't want to fuck his life up that badly, to be honest.
That's sort of our job too at this point. Like, we've come here to look at that. We've fallen into the position of doing it. If we a charitable interpretation of the authorities in this would be that they deal with the crime stuff happening.
The fewer
keep the town
people
safe from mundane threats. We'll go deal with the monster. But yeah, you've got a gang of like stone cutters up there, and
if they're also looking for the same thing, setting the sheriff on them is helping us to do that. Like if he can
only if they are looking
them.
for the same thing and we are on different sides. If we're on the same side, we are cutting ourselves off from a potential ally.
If we're on the same side, they shouldn't have threatened us.
They don't know we're on this. We don't know them. They don't know us.
Win stupid.
Yeah, I have a
find out.
I personally, but like Luce. Because Luce tends to not assume anyone is particularly bad or good, just as like people be people, the idea of someone like threatening Gaspar, Luce is like, I would do that. He's an annoying little shit. Like, sure.
They
so
do kind of admit to doing the murder though. And
from Gaspar's understanding, they fully said they did the murder.
Yeah.
Like he will.
And then, like, this is where the cigarette packets led. They said you'll end up like they kind of confessed to doing a big old murder. So whether we're on the same side as them or not, we're not on the same side as them. Because they fully did a murder.
And the person that they murdered, Marco Torres, was a member of Sebastian's team, presumably the ones that unleashed the thing.
Yeah, I don't
from
have a problem with that necessarily.
If
you're stabbing bad people, I axed quite a few bad people. I'm not.
After they attacked you.
Who's to say he didn't try and attack them?
Don't know, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm more than happy to sick the sheriff on these people. Yeah.
I would like to have a conversation with them up front to be like, are we on the same side or not? And if they're like, no, leave, we go, okay, and then we should sick the sheriff on them. But I don't know if that's it.
Only and from just another piece of information, because you have that map, Bernie.
Yes, well, that was the other thing. I want to look at the map and have a look at what's going on there. Happy to chat to the sheriff.
They are, and Paul, you have your own information here too. First of all, you can confirm that is Lucas Barnes's house. That is of the two remaining, because that's one that Bernie and the others identified. That is one of the locations that these campers have identified as a place to search, but they're brute forcing it. They're just going to everywhere they can think of, and based on their speed, it looks like they're walking to most of them if they can, or like driving if they need to, and then doing a couple in a day. Actually, there's not dates on them. Basically, they haven't made a ton of progress, and it'll take them a bit longer, but they probably will get there eventually. They're down into the last few of the places to actually check.
But have they marked
they
out?
Haven't been there yet.
Okay, but they've marked it out?
Yep, as one of the ones to search.
Have they marked out what their next spot is going to be?
Like, have they numbered these, or are they just kind of picking area by area?
With like a check where because they're doing like a spiral or something.
Yeah. Maybe there's I probably navigation.
That's something pretty good at. We're pretty good at.
I think that's the most practical one here.
I've got 40 navigate, but I'm happy to provide a bonus.
63.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, go ahead, Bernie. That makes sense.
That's the one I critted on last.
I think this is just going to be a. Oh no, this can be with a bonus because Paul, you've particularly been looking into this information at the Hall of Records as well. Like you were probably working on your own system of how to narrow these down.
Also, we have like information about like we know roughly their capabilities. We know, and this is their planning map. Like they might have like a sprint board set up where they've got stuff moving across,
and they assign who's going to go to which ones. Yeah.
That's success.
Take a bonus, just see if there's any.
Yeah, success.
Other thing that's marked on here quickly is just it's their headquarters, but that actually was technically public information. They had, you had that, you got that from Bethnal as well, but it does kind of confirm that these do appear to be the members of the Boston Order of the Stone branch. With a success, this area they're going to search is going to be tomorrow evening, probably. It's in the next batch of them.
So we gotta beat them to it.
I would love to beat him to it.
I think we should hand over the map and just set the sheriff to
No,
really.
I don't want the sheriff running. I really genuinely do not want to introduce other people to these fucking horrors.
We could even. I meant not to draw him to this. I think we hand over the map to be like, they're doing weird stuff.
You're doing
and
culture,
then,
man.
Like literally just evidence that they're messing around and have been for a while.
But if he checks out these and there's more weird shit in other places, like...
That's fair enough.
Another thing,
I'm probably keen to protect as many people from the weird shit as possible.
Another thing just with that success is they're doing this in teams of 2. They're fanning out. So there appear to be 5 of them. They're going, 2 groups of 2 are going to search, one's staying and watching the camp, then they're swapping out who's going. So probably even if you do run into them, it will only be a pair of them and probably likely on foot that approach.
Or we could go to the camp while there's just one of them, I guess would be the other thing.
I don't know why we're trying to shoot a bunch of potential allies in the
No, this was if we wanted to
they're-
have the chat that you were saying.
I mean, sure, I just, like, I understand that they were rude and unpleasant, but if we're on the same...
Or threatened to kill us.
Again, I have threatened to kill people without actually intending to do it. And I've also killed people who were related to releasing horrible entities on the world. So I'm not one to throw stones. I'm not saying they're good people. I'm just saying that there are 4 of us, because I wouldn't have dragged Joe into this unless he chooses to. And we don't know how many people are waiting for us in Sebastian's crew if they're still around. So we might be 4 of us against a handful. We might be 4 of us against a bloody world. I'm just saying that, like, I'm fine. Captain, if you want to go in on our own and make this our, quest, sure. Absolutely.
I don't necessarily want to,
But these people, theoretically, have been doing this for aeons. Theoretically know more about this stuff than we do, and theoretically...
they definitely know more about this stuff than we do.
Theoretically, can cast a bunch of weird, like, spells, and I'm gonna be honest, I'd rather someone else take the toll of doing that than us again.
Yeah, maybe we just hand it off to them and get the heck out of here.
I'm all for going and making sure this terrible thing doesn't happen. I don't...
I'm interested in knowing whether they know what we did on the SS Champagne. I assume Michelle told them.
I mean, it depends. If they've been in the woods for like a few weeks or even a month, they may not have got a telegram from anyone.
They haven't been there for they've been there for about a week or so.
Yeah.
According to what Gaspar's learned.
I have a potential point of compromise, I think, that gets everything through here. I reckon a lot of people want us to move, and there's a lot of stuff that could happen if we don't move tonight. I reckon we get going, we hit the place ourselves in full investigator mode, try and deal with the ship and the house as we know it, and then if we end up pulling back, or based on what we discover as we withdraw, we can then go and decide to approach them for the next steps. That way we don't commit to anything, we don't close off any gaps. We get the critical part done as quickly as possible, and we're in the best position to go forward and to decide whether we want to have an ongoing relationship with these people, or whether we want to be setting sail for, I don't know, what's on the other side of the world from Ireland.
Yeah, I don't know if we have time to do both.
It's one then the other, right? The time limit basic driver is, I mean...
How about this? How about we draw a big ass circle around that funny place on their map, and we go and shove it in the dirt near them, so that, they get their map back and someone's just so kindly circled something really, importantly, and then we go and do our thing. They rock up. Well, whoop-de-doo, they're there as well.
Yeah,
We've given them a clue. We've helped them. Maybe they'll not stab us immediately. Who knows? But if they do,
we give them the map back.
Secretly.
We tell them, secretly.
No, I'll just leave the map in the dirt.
They can
find it and be like,
shove it back onto the tent flap.
So this gives me a bit of a direction of what you're thinking of, and we've kind of set the stakes of the, I guess, coming night and next day. I reckon we'll leave things here with these elements in the air, particularly because I think we have Jackson back next week, and add another character here, and the whole plan might change. You know, as the voice things. So
Yeah.
we'll probably
Also, for the
retool
record, I'm fine with sicking the sheriff on them. I just also want to sick them on the bad people.
Yeah.
Like, that's a happy chain for me.
Everyone go. Yeah.
Sick the sheriff, sick them on the bad
I'm not
guys.
sure I trust him that much.
That's kind of why sick everyone on everyone, and then we just kind of do our own thing. And
Yeah.
if they're good, they help us. And if
It
they're
would
not,
be it would be a good idea to sick him on the freaky problem, and if we're just off the coast, watching, protected with our own symbol. Thank you, Gaspar. Hopefully, and if it gets out of hand, then we can jump in. But like, I'm happy to set someone else up as the advance guard.
Yeah. I mean, according to the map, you think they'll arrive there sometime tomorrow evening. So stands to reason that they might just find it themselves. Okay. Well, I think we will leave the session there. So with a little bit more information uncovered, and at least another investigator discovered or recovered or whatever. Hey, that's a win. We take those. We count those. The clock, oh my goodness. The clock ticks over towards 11, going on midnight, and we leave our investigators as they continue their discussion above deck, planning out their next movements. Thank you everyone for joining us. This has been the Order of the Stone, and we will be returning next week to continue the campaign. Thank you all for playing too, and your excellent performances as always. We'll leave everything there, and we'll see you very, very soon. Ciao.
Bye.